Tell me, what are some of the gifts of Priestess I Am when you think of high point moments or gifts that you've received from investing in yourself in this way? What comes to mind?
Uh, Big time, my inner child being nurtured and loved and seen in ways to where I am unafraid of being my full self, however loud, however quiet, however I am. Like, that's the biggest thing. Like, she wants to jump out right now and just give you a huge hug because it's a part, yes, it's a part of like remembering this playful innocence, knowing and loving and honoring that I have neglected for so long. Yeah. And like
Mm.
the other high point is like in that remembrance of the innocence and the wonder that comes with that is like meeting the shame and guilt of an old paradigm that no longer fits, and it doesn't feel like something I have to get rid of, something I have to do, rather than just make space for it. And how that translates in my life now, I am a mother, and it's so wonderful to create and have that space for my daughter. And it's like before, it would be like immediate back and forth, like me having to deal with myself as she deals with her emotions. But now it's like, okay, let me hold space. Let me hold you wherever you're at. She's 11, preteen years. So like lots of emotions, lots of discovery, lots of hormones. And I can just hold her there with like reverence, with respect, with no adding on shame. It's just wonderful. So wonderful.
Yum. So, what are some of those moments, like you mentioned, okay, yes, when I'm with my daughter, what are some of those other moments that have unfolded in your life where you've realized, like, oh, the work has paid off. Like, I have changed. I am elevated. I've expanded.
So many. Okay, so before Priestess I Am, I was so terrified of being around men. Just being around men was something that was very like as if I'm always being watched or being preyed upon. And um, now, not only do I just feel safe, especially like at the gym where I work, that's another story, but not only do I feel safe there with men around and, moving my bodies in ways where it's just what we do at the gym, but I have I can feel a deep respect of my own beauty in a male's gaze without having shame or um, feeling scared around it. Not only
Mm.
that, they show up differently for me. They show up as light beings who can protect me instead of hurt me. And that has been so revolutionary. Like, it's so, for me, especially because I was raised of being so scared of the world. And, things happen and I created that reality for me. But then now, like inside Priestess I Am, I was able to just feel so much more expansive around men. And of course, we need our men. And I not only like in my service in my work it's just like, oh, I only work with women. No, I feel like men need this holding, this nurturing. They're also wounded as much as we think that we're wounded, or all of this. My whole like mentality around that has definitely shifted, and I am more compassionate and more loving towards all of humanity.
Oh, that's so good. That's so good. And let me ask you this. It's like I remember you shared this specific example of like, I used to go to the gym and if there are like men there, I'd be like angry. I wouldn't want them to look at me. I'd feel unsafe. And you spoke to this a little bit, but I want to get to the specifics that you've shared, which is so beautiful of like, now it's the total opposite. Here's what all the men I work with are doing for me. Like, can you just put it in really practical terms, like give an example as inspiration for some women out there?
Yes. So, now the people, like the men at the gym, are like making sure that I'm okay. They realize I'm like the last one in there, and they're like, "Hey, are you done?" Like, not "Are you done?" but like they realize like, "Oh, wait, Jaclyn might need some help here. Let me just make sure she's okay." And they walk me to my car. They help me close up the gym, things like that, where like it's just so crazy, because before it's just I wouldn't even want to step foot in the gym if there's just a guy there at all. I'd just be like, okay, maybe I'll work out at home, or maybe I'll do something else. I'll just like, reframe. But now it's just like, oh, wait, Jaclyn, hey, you're here. Do you need anything? Like, do you need help with anything? They help me like re-rack my weight sometimes if they see me struggling, to put it all away. So it's completely different now. I feel like they are a knight, and I feel like the queen. Not to say it in a very egotistical way, but to say it like deep reverence and respect type of way. Like we respect each other, and like let me, and also it's also me being able to receive it, right? Me being open to like, hey, they what if they just actually want to help me because they want to help me, not to get anything out of it, not to, not a transactional thing out of it, but they sincerely just want to be like, hey, let me help you with this. Let me help, protect you, guide you, like help you feel safe around here, like just even small conversations, instead of like, hey, how are you doing? Like, hey, how are you actually doing? How's your business going? Like, they're taking time for me to like really just feel held and safe. And it's just so yummy. I love it.
Oh, we love it. And you spoke to this. It's like, okay, what shifted? And I heard like you came into your queen energy, like you unlocked those royal codes, not in a way of like, I'm a queen that rules over people and nothing's ever good enough, but in this way of like, wow, deep reverence. Like, whoa,
Mm.
let me like really hold myself with my crown and honor my value. And can you
Mm-hmm.
expand on that of like what shifted within, or what do you think contributed to this outer shift that you saw in your relationship and how you were supported out in the world by the masculine?
Ooh, I think a lot of it has to do with our temple. What we do inside Priestess I Am is completely profound, like profound, transformational each and every time. Even our practice of casting our circle and having that like practice of like, I speak for my sisters, or like, my sisters speak for me, like this, like that whole thing helped me in remembering that deep reverence, that like queen energy of like, hey, we are all here to lead, and we all lead for, ooh, I got chills. We all lead with each other, I think you posted something today as like the law of one. And that deeply resonates with me, because like in my true core, and I didn't know how to articulate it before, but it's always been in my heart that like that law of one, if you see someone out there having something that you want, that also means that it is possible for you, and like just vice versa, right? And so, or like I kind of blend it with integrity as well. Like that whole law of one aspect is just so helps me in remembering who I am, who you are, who the people in front of me are, that just we can all respect and love each other. Like like taking the time to love myself also takes the time to love you, you know? So,
Yes.
yeah.
And can you speak to as well? I know you spoke about some profound shifts in relating to your guides and the way you felt, for example, Quan Yin or other guides that you work with closely. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yes, of course. Okay, so growing up, we always, so I grew up Buddhist, and I have an altar of Kuan Yin. She's actually older than me, so, but as growing up, my mom would be like, "Hey," I didn't have the language. She'd just be like, clean up her altar, make sure she has new flowers, make sure she has water and things like that." And I was in high school, and I'm like, or middle school, high school, I didn't know what I was doing. I was just told to do. I'm like, why? And so this is what helped me start in actually self-development books and like reading about Buddhism and things like that, because my parents were just too busy to explain everything, or I didn't know if it was like superstition or if it's actually religion. So I was just very curious, and I followed that curiosity. Um, but in Priestess I Am, working with you and like having this new profound connection with my guides. Not only that, I don't know if you remember, but I was also very like scared of Mother Mary, because I just like I feel her energy. I feel it, but it wasn't the scaredness. It was more of like she has always been there for me, and I didn't know. And me being able and willing to acknowledge like her presence in my life in all the ways is as if I had like flashback moments of where she was there, and I could see and feel that. And so now every time I call on her, I literally feel like a big hug from behind. It's just like, so good and yummy. And like with Kuan Yin too, I've always I've always been so I had this huge connection with water. I didn't know how or why. I just know that I love to like every time I would take a bath or a shower, it was a ceremony for me. It was like a ritual for me, and it helps me feel more of myself every time I do it. I do it with such intention and love. And then hearing Kuan Yin's story from you, and like even doing my own explorations and having that connection with her, really has a lot of correlations to my own personal story and journey with compassion. And so I think one of the hugest things that I got out of Priestess I Am is just compassion in different levels that I never thought was there. But that also helps me being the mom that I am, the trainer and coach that I am, the space that I get to hold every day that I love holding, just helps me in just being my purpose. And I think that is just so, there's no words to explain that feeling of feeling so grounded in compassion and understanding what that actually feels, and the profound impact that it like translates into relationships, into life, into meaning, like making life meaningful.
Making life meaningful. I think those are the perfect words. Those are the perfect words. Can you speak a little bit about your financial liberation, how Priestess I Am has supported you on your journey in opening your business? Or
Yes, yes. Okay. Oh my God, that's like definitely. There's so many big things I got out of Priestess I Am, but this one is like, whoo. Okay, so before Priestess I Am, I was in like survival mode, meaning victim mode, meaning trauma. Nervous system was just completely like I was dysregulated the whole time. I was in freeze mode for 2 years. I was in freeze mode for 2 years. I did not work. I moved in with my mom abruptly, with my daughter. And so it's just like, and I tried everything, like I really tried everything I could to create things and to sell them, or just nothing ever worked. Nothing ever stuck. Like until rebirth. Rebirth was profound in and of itself. And I'm like, okay, I need to do Priestess I Am. And I was telling you, I was like, I don't know how, but I have all of these things. And I was wanting to go back into my masculine, but just in those 2 sessions with the first session, you're like, okay, how can we create this opening of receiving and like different ideas, but also do the work too. And so we did that. I did that. And so all of a sudden, I had a conversation with my mom. I was like, hey, do you think I should start working again at a restaurant? She's like, why would you do that? That's stupid. Because, and she didn't mean this, she meant this in a loving way. She was like, why don't you start training again? And I didn't think about that because I was I have that tangled, coupled with a very toxic relationship during that time, or just a toxic time in my life. And I'm like, trauma, okay, no more training. And that's not possible because I can't do that. So I was like, okay, I'm open to it. So coming from maybe not even beginning our first session together in Priestess I Am, I was already at a gym, signed the contract, made it work, had clients coming in. Now I have about like 2, 3 clients, new clients requesting to work with me. I'm like almost at capacity right now, physically to train. And so it has been so, I could have never thought that this could happen, especially in the short amount of time that it did. I went from like negative a negative number in my bank account to now like five figures, like consistent. And even it's going on even more because now I'm creating new things that I feel super excited about, have energy for. Can we talk about the energy thing? Because remember, I was
Yes.
like, I was like, Dani, how do I have all this energy to do this? Because like, how do I have, if I ask to go to work, like if I'm doing all this stuff to make money so that I could be in Princess I Am, how do I have the energy to do that? And then later on, I realized like the things that you are meant to do will give you life. And with Priestess I Am helped me to clearly drop into my heart, receive guidance, like have that clear path in the beauty way with the greatest abundance and the greatest of ease. Like it literally gives me life. And so now like my capacity just keeps expanding. I have so much energy for everything and to hold space for all of these people. I have 20 clients right now. Like when we started, I have like zero. I'm in charge of 20 leaders taking care of their health and well-being in, and it's just, and I have like 2 more coming in this week. So it's just like, it's so yummy. It's so good. So much life giving energy. Oh, it's so funny because I remember I was like, Dani, how do I have energy to do all this? I have to wash the dishes, have to do laundry, do the bed sheets, like have to find food for my daughter. She keeps, like all of this stuff. And I was like, how? And I do. I have all the energy. I have more. I have so much love to give.
Jaclyn, I just want to honor you straight up, straight up, straight up, straight up, straight up. Okay. Like you were like, Dani, I don't know how the F this is going to happen, but I feel it in me from our rebirth experience. Like, let's go. I'm open. You're like, what recommendation or insight do you have? And then, we guided you to some of your own guidance and you were like, oh yeah, I have this. I'm going to show up. I'm showing up. I'm showing up. And what was so beautiful is just like you said, you went to your, first of all, I didn't even know, we're going to get to this in a moment, by the way, the work that you're doing that is so profound because people need to know about it. Like the actual sacred work, not the inner work that
Yeah.
you've become.
Yes.
You've been talking about that. But, I had no idea that you had this really like this background with the gym and that you had this really sacred vision that I want to talk about momentarily. But it was just like, we knew. We knew. I was like, we just felt it. You're meant to be in Priestess I Am. There's something here. I felt like there was a soul contract between us. I'm like, there's a soul agreement. We don't force it to happen, but let's make sure that we explore every avenue before we close the books. Like maybe you're not going to be in Priestess I Am. We don't know. But like, let's write down all the ways to make money. And what came up is this restaurant job. And it was like, yeah, if I work this a couple nights a week, like I used to work at this restaurant, I could pay for Priestess I Am. And you have this conversation with your mom, and you went into this conversation. We prepped it by speaking in the higher self realms first, right? We prepped the energy. You really connected to your heart around like, how do I have this sacred conversation? Call on my guides to bless this conversation so that the highest and best could unfold. In your mind, the highest and best was, yeah, I'll babysit while you go to the restaurant job. But because you had given it up to the divine, it was like, shh, shh, no, what are you thinking? Like, go full purpose. And you came back to me and you're like, oh yeah, over the weekend, I went to this new gym. I'm now a trainer at the gym. I've got coffee with the owner to help talk about how to open up my books. Like I'm doing this, like it's happening. And then you shared this amazing vision with me. And I was just like, bitch, why didn't we start there? It was. Like I had no and this
Yeah.
vision, you said, one day I will open up gyms that cater to the feminine cycle, where women can come here and work out according to the phase of their cycle. And I just had full, and I have chills now, chills. And I'm like, look at this priestess sitting across from me. Look at this priestess. And it's like, I think that session, we knew it was still kind of like, is she in? I don't know. Like you've taken the steps and it was right up to the minute. Like I think like a few days before we actually started where you're like, I can make the first
Yes.
payment. Like I'm in. And I
Yes.
share those details because there's so many facets of the priestess archetype in that. It's that archetype awakening in you of like faith, trust, communing with your guidance, also marrying that divine feminine guidance with the divine masculine action, exploration, surrender and release of outcome. I mean, so many things, right? And so, I'd love for you to just speak about your beautiful work in the world and how the priestess archetype is now influencing your work at the gym as you're stewarding people in their mindset, in their bodies.
Ooh, yes. My higher self
Because
is
I'll just say, let me just
online.
say, I see what you post and I'm like, that's amazing. She's gorgeous. She's creating gorgeous things. I'm like, I want to be in that. Like you just posted Sovereign
Oh,
Body. I'm like, that looks amazing. You posted Sexy as Fuck a couple months ago. I was like, that looks
yeah.
amazing.
Yes, yes. So how this came about was, you know, I've always been into fitness and things like that. And so I've been in the industry for quite some time, like over a decade now. And, what happened was I feel like now looking back in hindsight, I see how burnt out, like how this industry just goes on a male schedule. It's very rigid. It's like I give you a workout program. We're going to do it exactly this way, this diet, this meal plan. You have to do it this way. Like there's no feminine flow to it. At the same time, 80% of the women who are coming to me to train, to lose weight, to gain muscle, they all had hormonal imbalances. They all had either PCOS, like um, just like all of the things. And it hurts my heart where you have a beautiful woman sitting across from you, and they're telling you that they don't have power over their bodies. They don't, not only that, they feel so disconnected. They don't know what to do. They come to me at when they're in pain, when they're in pain enough to where they do not even look at themselves in the mirror. They hate, like, they just don't like being in their bodies. And so that happens. I see that time and time again. And I'm like, something's got to change. There's something here. And so, I speak about that trauma that happened. That actually was very divinely orchestrated, because it had me really stop and slow down to really connect and to embody my divine feminine, embody the cycle. That's when I started cycle syncing. I mean, I started a little bit before then, like 2 years before I stopped, but it had me see all the burnout, all the hustle culture, all of this like rigidity that does not work for us. It might work and you might be successful, but at the end of it, you're like, what the hell did I do that for? And like, why am I feeling so disconnected? Like you might get the aesthetic that you want, but it's not going to be as fulfilling, as yummy. And so I am so passionate about this because, one, I see the magnetism that happens in my own life if I just honor my bleed. Just red tent in general, just you are your most intuitive when you're in your bleed. And also honoring sometimes very loudly our luteal phase. That's where our wild woman archetype shows up. She's going to really speak about what is it okay. And that's when the irritation and you're just like, PMS symptoms and all of these things, these can all be, if they can all be met with reverence and with honor and trust in our feminine embodiment more, we will feel so much more aligned with our intuition, with our feminine self, our receptive, flowy, magnetic, like life will just feel more yummy. And I feel like every woman deserves that. Every woman deserves that connection. They deserve to feel confident. They deserve to like have their voice be heard. And also, when you're in your follicular phase, which is right after the bleed, your inner child, that's where you get to play. And ovulation is where you get to honor your aesthetic intelligence. We have these in each portal, each phase of our cycle, we have this intelligence within our bodies that we need to remember. So it is my complete honor and job to just let that be known. And I want to create a sacred space for that to be honored, for us to feel safe to do so.
Let it be known, let it be known, let it be known. And so you said the word remember, and I love that. And we speak about that remembrance a lot in Priestess I Am. And so it's like, how has the remembrance of your priestess archetype influenced how you show up in your work in the gym?
Ooh, with every session, I connect my highest self with their higher selves. Sometimes, to be honest with you, I don't even know exactly the scientific terminology for this movement, but I know that they need to feel it here more or feel it there more to expel and liberate some density in that part of the body. So the feedback with them in person, like being present, that feedback helps me liberate, helps me take out that density with them. It's just me being a guide. I don't know. This is not their body, but at the same time, it is an access and opportunity for us to create a safe space, that co-regulation for them to tap in. Yes. So
Tap in,
every
everybody
session.
tap
Yes.
in. Cool. So tell me, Jaclyn, what does the word priestess mean to you?
Ooh. The steward of light, like a a woman, a divine being who is here to just amplify light and to hold space for others to amplify their light.
Just letting that one hit land. Yum. Thank you for that. And almost lastly, we're getting to the wrap up here, and we'll go into the light language activation. How would you describe working with me?
Ooh, so, so profound, so yummy. Always feel like so relieved and at the same time centered and grounded. So it's as if I mean, I can visually explain this, but it's different to actually conceptually know it and to actually feel it. Because when you feel it, you feel it. There is no avoiding it. It's so good. I feel like I'm firmly planted and my tree is growing, or like the rose, it's growing and it is like not only growing this way and blossom and everybody can like be in awe of its beauty, but at the same time it's like deeply rooted and grounded. It's nothing like anyone I worked with before. You just have this deep, and I can tell it's a lot of like generous love on your end too, but that's just how you are made, and that's why you're just so good at this, is because you like love so big, and I appreciate that big love. And I think a lot of people who are going to get to know what it's like to work with you, they're going to be met with that, like, here's love, here's real unconditional love. Like, you think it's unconditional love with, like, no, this is unconditional love. That's who you are. It's just beautiful, beautiful.
Thank you so much. I received that so deeply. And it's been such a treasure getting to weave with you and just see you in all of your, your divine warriorship, right? It's like
Mm.
not warrior like fighting, but it's like this warriorship of I'm going to steward my heart in this love. I'm going to steward my business with ferocity that simply reflects the piercing light of my grace.
Mm-hmm. Woo!
Bring such deep nectar to my family and release expectations in all aspects of life so that love can pour in. It's been like such a divine honor to weave with you and just also receive your light back in the space, because I get to source as much from our temple space as you all do. So just really, really deeply, deeply honor you and love you.
Love
Um,
you too.
and oh, let's see. There's one other place I wanted to go. What would you say to anyone considering joining Priestess I Am or any program in the future, who might be like, who feels the call in the heart, but maybe like isn't sure what the next step is?
I would say follow your heart, have faith, and you will always be taken care of. There's a reason why you are being guided. I mean, same for me. Like, in the very beginning, I was like, I don't know how, like, maybe next time, or like, I don't know how I'm going to pay for this. Like, I literally did not have any, but I was guided. I was shown the way.
Mm.
Who I am today, like, after and making that investment, the initial scary investment is scary, yes, but what's scarier? Staying where you are? It's just like so mind blowing. I would say take a leap of faith, believe in yourself, believe in, if it's hard for you to believe in yourself, I would say believe in your sisters, believe in your light, something, because you're being guided for a reason, and follow it. Like, this is the best decision I've ever made, besides having my daughter. But like, this is like really, really life changing, life changing. Like, there's no coming back after this. It's all I see is all the world of possibility. And I know that I am always supported. I am always protected and guided. And it's so true. I might not, like, physical world form, like, yes, This, oh, I'm just like, I just want to let people know that this is so profound. And I get the scariness and just take that leap of faith. Yes.
Beautifully said. And I'll say, you talked about the presence. And part of that leap of faith is that you're speaking to. It's not just like, oh, whatever, I'll just take out a credit card and make it happen and and not look at it in this way. But you said, I'm going to stay so present every day. And I'm going to ask, how is this going to happen? And I'm going to take scary steps, courageous steps to explore and hold the vision that it's going to happen, knowing that maybe it won't. But I'm going to show up for yes, it is. And it's like, that is what brings it into focus, brings it into focus, brings it into focus, brings it into focus, right? So thank you, thank you,
Mm-hmm.
thank you so much for that, for that insight for people. And last question here, and this is actually switching gears. So we've talked about Priestess I Am, awakening this priestess archetype, and now we're going into ancient remembrance. And you've said yes to ancient remembrance. Why did you say yes to ancient remembrance?
Ah, because it's my heart's calling. I have opened up my voice in Priestess I Am. And not only that, it feels so good whenever we are just voicing and toning and like getting all these downloads without even like having. I love that whole aspect of like not having your logical mind just be in the way of it, because you're like, oh, I sound blah blah blah, and like that's completely out of the way. But like the whole theme here is remembrance. Like I am just all gung ho for all remembering everything that is supposed to be for me, for all, through me, for all.
Through me for all, through us for all, through all of us, through for all of us.
All, yes.
So, Ancient Remembrance, for those that don't know, is our light language course. It's a 4-week dipping your toes in, opening your channel, chanting, intuitive singing, light language, just clear density, open up remembrance, baptize yourself with your own healing voice. It's going to be amazing. And speaking of light language, let's go into our activation, shall we?
Yes.
Okay, beautiful. So I'm going to keep the recording on just so that I can have the recording for when, like, as we integrate and reflect, we'll see what comes through, just in case it's helpful for people to hear that. And if it's like, this was the worst light language session ever, I felt nothing, like, that's fine. Be in your truth.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But just so you know, I'll cut out like any portion of us actually doing the light language. So
Okay.
if
Not a
there's something that's
problem.
deeper, so I just want you to have that safety while we enter into this, knowing that.
Thank
Okay.
you. Thank you. Yes.
Because you are birthing the new. So what you birth isn't going to look like anything that's you've seen outside of you. We are divine, we are sovereign, we are free. Blessed be, blessed be, blessed be. Deep breath. And opening your eyes and coming back to the space. And what was that experience?
Ah. Oh, I felt tingles everywhere, like cellular light switching, on and on and on and on. I feel so expansive, like so expansive. Everything that you mentioned, I felt like 2 seconds before you mentioned it. Like it's like angel wings, yes, yes, halo, yes, next, like portal, yes, blue and white. Oh, remembering, like it did not feel like foreign. Like every time we have these activations, like I have them with you, and it's like more and more expansive, yet grounded deeply, cellularly, viscerally, even in my bones, even at each, like, can't even get more, like, I mean, I wonder if we can, but still, it's so yummy. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh, I feel like my voice is even a little different from whatever. That was an amazing. It's always great for me because I get the codes too. I'm like, "Oh, okay, we're in Shambhala now."
Yes.
So thank you for that
Mm.
co-weavership and opening those frequencies and just all of the beautiful work that you do in the world and for your family and for